Welcome to Askprep, your trusted guide for UPSC and IAS preparation. Today, we'll be discussing an essential topic in general knowledge, which is the important constitutional amendments. The Constitution of India, adopted in 1950, has been amended several times to reflect the changing needs and circumstances of the nation. Understanding these amendments is crucial for both your understanding of India's evolving legal framework and your success in the UPSC and IAS exams. So without further delay, let's get started. Introduction. The Constitution of India, adopted on 26 January 1950, is a living document that evolves to meet the nation's changing needs. Constitutional amendments ensure its relevance in addressing social, political, and economic challenges while safeguarding its core principles. From the 42nd Amendment expanding directive principles to the 73rd and 74th Amendments empowering local governance, these changes have shaped modern India. Understanding these amendments is vital for UPSC and IAS aspirants, offering insights into India's reform journey and its democratic framework. Historical background. The Constitution of India, enacted in 1950, was drafted to provide a comprehensive framework for governance in a newly independent nation. However, the framers of the Constitution recognized the need for adaptability to address the dynamic socio-political and economic challenges that India would face over time. To facilitate this, Article 368 of the Constitution provided a formal mechanism for amending its provisions. India's first constitutional amendment came in 1951, addressing land reforms and protecting them from judicial scrutiny under the fundamental rights. Over the years, amendments have been used to respond to pressing national needs, from addressing social inequalities and ensuring justice to empowering local governance and strengthening federal structures. Let's talk about amendments. The First Amendment, 1951. The First Amendment addressed critical issues emerging after the adoption of the Constitution, particularly around land reforms and freedom of speech. It introduced the Ninth Schedule to protect laws related to land reforms from judicial review. Added reasonable restrictions to the right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19(1)(a). Empowered the state to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes. Significance. This amendment addressed socio-economic disparities and laid the foundation for land reforms, ensuring social justice. The Seventh Amendment, 1956. This amendment reorganized Indian states and union territories based on linguistic lines, a major milestone in federal restructuring. Key provisions included abolishing the classification of states into A, B, C, and D categories. Establishing the modern state structure to promote administrative efficiency and unity. This amendment followed the States Reorganization Act, ensuring linguistic identities were respected while maintaining national integrity. 10th Amendment, 1961. Through this amendment, territories such as Dadra and Nagar Haveli were incorporated into the Indian Union after being liberated from Portuguese control. It strengthened the concept of a unified India and marked another step in consolidating the nation's territorial integrity. 24th Amendment, 1971. Following the landmark Keswananda Bharati case, the amendment clarified Parliament's authority to amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental rights. It made it mandatory for the President to assent to constitutional amendment bills. This amendment reaffirmed the balance between legislative power and judicial review. 31st Amendment, 1973. This amendment increased the Lok Sabha's strength from 525 to 545 members to account for population growth. It ensured better representation, reflecting India's expanding democracy and population dynamics. The 42nd Amendment, 1976, often called the Constitution 42nd Amendment Act, it was one of the most extensive amendments in the history of India's constitution. It was enacted during the emergency period under Indira Gandhi's government. It made several changes to the constitution, including the addition of the words socialist, secular, and republic to the preamble, and it gave precedence to the directive principles of state policy over fundamental rights. Key changes: alteration of the preamble to include socialist and secular, strengthening the powers of the central government and reducing the powers of the judiciary. Introduction of 7th Schedule, specifying the division of powers between the Union and the states. The 44th Amendment, 1978. The 44th Amendment Act reversed many provisions introduced by the 42nd Amendment, especially those related to the power of the government to suspend fundamental rights during an emergency. It restored the right to life and personal liberty as a fundamental right and provided safeguards against the abuse of emergency powers. Key changes: protection of fundamental rights, especially the right to life. Strengthening judicial review and the protection of individual freedoms. Restricting the power of the Parliament to alter the Constitution under Article 368. 52nd Amendment, 1985, known as the Anti-Defection Law. This amendment aimed to promote political stability by curbing defections among elected representatives. Key features included: disqualification of members who defected to another party or violated party directives. Formation of the 10th Schedule, detailing the provisions related to defection. This amendment was crucial in addressing the political instability caused by frequent party switching. The 61st Amendment, 1988, this amendment lowered the voting age from 18 to 21 years. It was a crucial step towards youth empowerment, allowing a broader section of society to participate in the electoral process and strengthening the democratic framework of India. The 73rd and 74th Amendments, 1992, these amendments were landmark reforms for decentralizing power to local bodies. The 73rd Amendment pertained to panchayats, rural local governance, and the 74th Amendment related to municipalities, urban local governance. These amendments introduced a three-tier system of governance and mandated regular elections for local bodies. Key changes: introduction of a three-tier Panchayati Raj system with Gram Panchayats at the village level, Panchayat Samitis at the intermediate level, and Jilla Parishads at the district level. Constitution of state election commissions to conduct elections at the local level. Reservation of seats for women and scheduled castes, scheduled tribes in local bodies. The 86th Amendment, 2002, this amendment was significant as it made education a fundamental right for children between the ages of 6 and 14. It added a new article, Article 21A to the Constitution, mandating free and compulsory education for children within this age group. Key changes: introduction of Article 21A making the right to education a fundamental right. Amended Article 45 to ensure that children under the age of 6 receive early childhood care and education. 91st Amendment, 2003, this amendment aimed to prevent the misuse of ministerial appointments. Key provisions included: limiting the size of the Council of Ministers to 15% of the total strength of the legislature. Disqualification of defectors from ministerial posts. This amendment ensured efficiency and accountability in governance. The 101st Amendment, 2016, the 101st Amendment introduced the Goods and Services Tax, GST, a revolutionary tax reform aimed at unifying the Indian economy into a single market. It replaced multiple indirect taxes, such as excise duty and VAT, with a single tax on goods and services. Key changes: introduction of GST, simplifying the tax structure and promoting a unified market. Establishment of the Goods and Services Tax Council for making recommendations regarding tax rates. 103rd Amendment, 2019, this amendment provided 10% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions for the economically weaker sections, EWS, of society. It aimed to promote social justice for economically disadvantaged groups, irrespective of caste. Introduced Articles 15, 6, and 16, 6, to implement this reservation. This amendment addressed socio-economic disparities, reflecting a modern, inclusive approach to affirmative action. Conclusion: the amendments to the Constitution have been instrumental in responding to India's changing socio-political context. From the introduction of provisions for social justice to the empowerment of local self-governance, constitutional amendments have played a critical role in shaping modern India. Key amendments such as the 42nd Amendment, which added the terms socialist and secular to the preamble, and the 73rd and 74th Amendments, which focused on strengthening local governance, have significantly transformed the country's political structure. Each of these amendments serves as a reflection of India's evolving democracy, ensuring that the Constitution remains flexible and able to address new and emerging challenges. The changes introduced by these amendments have made a tangible impact on the governance and functioning of the country, empowering citizens and ensuring that the country moves forward in line with its democratic ideals. However, these amendments have not been without challenges. Issues such as ensuring that changes remain inclusive, addressing gaps in implementation, and responding to technological and social transformations continue to shape discussions around constitutional reforms. In conclusion, the constitutional amendments represent a critical mechanism for adapting India's legal and governance framework to meet the demands of a changing society. They embody the principles of progress, inclusivity, and justice, essential for maintaining the integrity of the Constitution. At Askprep, we aim to bring such insights to help you prepare better for your UPSC and IAS examinations. Thank you. This is Askprep, your guide to mastering UPSC and IAS preparation. Let's decode complex topics and simplify your journey to success.